Now, India's bond prices, they are in the news. The bond prices have crashed and yields on 10-year sovereign bonds have surged to the highest level in almost 2 years. What explains this surge? Lata Venkatesh joins in to give us more details on the bond market churn. So, Lata, what has spooked the investors, and more importantly, what does this really mean for the 10-year bond going forward?
Well, actually, the appetite in the bond market has been pathetic ever since December 28, when the government's fresh borrowing program was announced. There isn't really much appetite to buy fresh bonds. People are worried about how appetite will come in for the excess borrowing. But in that atmosphere, Dr. Viral Acharya, the Deputy Governor of the Reserve Bank, spoke with some vehemence that banks should learn to manage their bond portfolios, and they shouldn't keep coming to RBI and asking RBI to help out. This very strong statement from Viral Acharya led to this yields going up by about 11 basis points from 7.44 yesterday to 7.55. That's a fall in bond prices of about 65 pice. Now, 65 pice may look small, but the bond portfolio of banks is, something like 30,000-40,000 crores, and the amount of bonds that would be immediately affected would be easily over 10,000 crores. So losing about 65 pice on that bigger holding is a loss of about 3,000 crores perhaps in terms of provisioning they have to do in a day. It's a very, very big fall as far as the bond markets are concerned. And the reason why Acharya said this was banks had gone complaining to the Reserve Bank after the December 28 announcement that it was not their fault that this announcement came and the bond prices fell. Out of the blue, the government announced it on 28th. On 29th is the last trading day, according to which they have to make mark-to-market provisioning. And so they said, give us some more time to provide. This was Acharya's reply, saying that you have to manage your book. You can't keep coming to the Reserve Bank. It was that reply that spooked the bond market, that they're not going to get any help from anywhere, and Reserve Bank wouldn't care if the yields went up, and the yields went on shooting up. This is, the only hope now is that when on Friday, when the fresh government bonds are auctioned, people will come and cover their shorts, and maybe that'll be a support. Everyone is hoping that somebody from Finance Ministry will make some statement saying that they will be disciplined about government borrowing. Any statement, people are just looking for a straw to clutch. Bond market in dire straits.
All right, so those were the comments that Viral Acharya made. That had an impact on the bond prices. But Lata, tell us more about did it have any impact perhaps even in the way in which the rupee behaved? Because we've seen a new low the rupee has hit against the dollar. Did Viral Acharya's comments have any impact on that as well? No,
that was quite clearly another issue altogether. The rupee did see one of its sharpest falls in 4 months, largely because of the trade deficit numbers that came yesterday for the month of December. Trade deficit, the difference between imports and exports, has risen to almost $15 billion, which is a 37-month high. It's actually not even a 37-month high. The only time we had $15-17 billion of trade deficit was before the taper tantrum. And that's what led to make us a fragile 5. So that number has clearly spooked the market. And it isn't as if, in coming months we are going to have a trade deficit less than 15 billion, given where oil is, and given a very steep rise in gold imports, which is still a little inexplicable, probably a delayed reaction to demonetization. We don't know. But markets believe that this deficit is going to get repeated. And if it is 15 billion, then the ordinary flows of software earnings and Indians living abroad and sending money to their families, that can bridge about 8 to 10 billion. The remaining 5 billion, you're dependent on FIIs buying debt or equities, and that makes the rupee very, very slippery. So this again is something that may not stop over here. We could see further falls in the rupee.
All right, Lata, many thanks for joining in with both those stories.